That motto, come back with your shield or on it. 2 options. Come back with it or on it. That is your everything or nothing.
Hello there, Spartan fans. Welcome to this week's edition of Grind to Shine. I'm Nathan Wiseman, joined by Patrick Klinger as always. And last week, Alexander welcomed River Valley to town for the annual homecoming game, but Pat, the Raiders were the ones having all the fun.
Yeah, River Valley came in with all the confidence in the world, posting 366 yards of total offense en route to a 50-7 victory. Now let's rewind back to the sights and sounds of homecoming night. The Spartans began the night on a high note with Chase Harris winning Homecoming King, but it didn't take long for River Valley to spoil the night. Their first drive, 4th and goal, Patrick Brown finds Jacob Mabe for the early touchdown, 8-0. And on River Valley's next possession, Brown's back at it again, finds Trey Craycraft. He makes a few men miss, picks up a block, 33-yard score, and it's 15-0 before Alexander even knows what hit him.
Yeah, 2 River Valley possessions, 2 Raiders touchdowns. Doesn't make Coach Penrod very happy about that. And the Spartans had to punt on their next drive, so Lane Fitch with the nice punt return, 24 yards right into Spartan territory, setting up his teammate Dylan Brown from 1 yard out 2 plays later as the Raiders go up 22-0 on the Spartans.
Yeah, still in the first quarter. A little hope for the Spartans. This is their first positive yards from scrimmage with 2:50 left in the quarter. He gets the first down on that one, but that drive would stall. River Valley's defense just too much penetration on the night. Marks gets stood up there, and now let's jump to the second quarter. Brown for this 3rd touchdown pass of the game. Craycraft in double coverage, but it doesn't matter. 23-yard score, and it's 29-0 Raiders.
Yeah, problem continuing to fall for the Spartans. On the offensive side of the ball, Brody Moles falls on the Spartan fumble, giving River Valley the ball right back. And from there, later in the possession, Trey Craycraft with a little nice fancy move for a 5-yard touchdown, 43-0 now.
Yeah, the Spartans just trying to score at the end of the first half. The homecoming king himself, Chase Harris, takes the ball 25 yards. He hurts his ankle on that one, but actually he would be okay play in the second half, and the problems continued in the third quarter as you see A.J. Marks with the interception.
Yeah, 43-0, still the score, so some young guys get into the game, including Cole Young, who scored from 33 yards out for the River Valley Raiders. And then on the flip side, freshman Kaleb Easley gets into the end zone for the Spartans. One positive note from this game as the final score, 50-7 from Albany.
Coach, with the loss at River Valley last week, for the first time we really saw the offense struggle. The starting unit didn't put up any points in that game. So, would you attribute that to maybe the new guys you had up front on the offensive line, or would you credit Coach Sparling and River Valley's defensive scheme?
I think you have to give credit to both sides of the ball, and they definitely have a really good scheme, and we knew coming in that they're really a fast, aggressive defense. They're going to come after us. But as far as just their scheme, it wasn't anything that new that we had seen the previous few weeks, but it had more, I think, just to do with we have new guys now, and having Llewellyn out and having Brendan out, it kind of takes its toll. Then you look back to really our depth chart there early on in the year, and you got Klein, you got McCollister, so those are 4 guys that you don't have now. So that the staple that we talked about last week was Luke Chapman, but he's also a freshman. So, but I think that as the game went on, some of those guys started getting some of those reps, and some really felt in the zone and in a groove of things. But once you get down as far as we did, it's hard to have an answer for that. But I think when it was all said and done, we still had some positives too.
Yeah, and you really reaching back in the depth chart now in that offensive line. And we talk about the offense struggling a little bit, and the defense has had its fair share of struggles over the past couple weeks. So right now with the state of the team, in your mind, what's the biggest problem with this team right now?
I think just trying to find that mixture and get them just to believe again. When you start getting those deficits, it gets hard. Now we start questioning things. Now we try to overplay things, and you can't do that, or else you're just going to continually make things worse. So just trying to take a step back, take that deep breath, and refocus some goals and get reorganized. And I think that the coaching staff and we have something good in hand for this week, and try to be able to break some things down and put some ownership on our young men and make and have them have a more part of really the game plan and philosophy what we have going forward.
Yeah, and just a little bit of an unfortunate stat here, Coach, but with the loss to River Valley, this is the first time in your 3 seasons as head coach here that you will have a losing season, And I know that the season is not over yet, but does a season like this give you a little extra motivation to really work that much harder for next season?
Yes and no. I mean, you always want to have that chip on your shoulder, but I think as far as myself and this staff, it doesn't really, it doesn't give us anything to want to work that much harder, because I mean, we really do work extremely hard, and we put in time, we put in the preparation, but going into next season, most definitely. So really the key thing right now is to continually get these young guys tremendous experience, but we also want to hand these seniors out on a good note, and that's why we're going to continually grind and put forth the best foot the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, and just getting away from football a little bit, want our audience to get to know you a little bit too over the course of this season. So on the weekends, when you're not game planning for the next week's game and you're not watching football on Sundays, what does Coach Penrod do with his time?
That is a good question, because if I'm not working on football, usually I'm working on football, but especially once this fall weather's starting to come, it's been nice, and my mother was down to today, and we went outside with Jim and just went around and it's just nice to relax a little bit. But every other weekend we're out with the wife and her parents, and we just really sit back, relax a little bit, and always do those chores too.
Yeah, busy man. Yeah, and just finally, Coach, the team is 1-6, but you have 3 games left. That part's behind you. You got 3 opportunities left this season. What do you want to accomplish with the final 3 games of this season?
I think opportunities is definitely a key word, because I think with the talent that we have and when we want to play, we can really knock anybody off. And that's what's exciting. It's just we haven't been able to put it all together for 4 straight quarters. So that's definitely the goal going forward. And like we said, we want to get some of these young guys continued experience, but we want these seniors to go off with a really good note and something really to capitalize their senior year too. And I think that if we can play 4 straight quarters of relentless football, I think we can knock somebody off. But we have to believe it first, and really that starts, and I trust in these young men to carry on.
You guys got another chance to do that. Nelsonville-York this week. We're looking forward to it. So, Coach, thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks, Patrick.
All right, Spartan fans, you know what time of the show it is. It's time to break down this week's matchup. And Pat, this week Alexander hits the road to take on Nelsonville-York, and this could be the toughest opponent they'll see all season.
Yeah, the Buckeyes put the beat down on River Valley 46-6 back in week 4, and just came off of a 38-0 shutout win over Wellston. And as we know, both of those teams handled Alexander. So traveling into Nelsonville with a hostile crowd, this could be a very difficult matchup for Alexander.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough environment for them. And, we mentioned how it could be one of their tougher opponents. They could see one of the best players in the TVC and running back Alex Mount, and he's already amassed over 1,000 yards just this season.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, that guy is so talented. Nelsonville has a 3-headed monster running the ball with Hunter Edwards, Noah Andrews, and most importantly, Alex Mount. And last week, Mount put up 265 yards on the ground. I mean, the kid's so dynamic. He can bruise you up the middle, or he can take a toss to the outside and burn you with his speed. So Alexander's defense might need to have the best game of their season to really narrow down on that guy, wrap him up, and get him to the ground.
Yeah, I completely agree. They have so many talented guys on their team, so Alexander's defense is going to have to watch out giving away big plays at the beginning of the game, and that's what's really hurt them. When they get down early in the game, last week we saw they were down 22-0 and really just lost all their confidence from there. So I think our first takeaway is that they really just can't give up.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, last week they got down so early on in the first quarter, and from then they just really could never find the energy to bounce back. And Coach Penrod is always saying in the locker room that you got to play for that name on the front of your jersey. You got to have some pride, even if you're facing adversity. You got to find a way to bounce back. They haven't been able to do that, so I'm sure they will find some adversity in the first quarter in Nelsonville with such a tough place to play. So they're going to have to find a way to keep themselves going and power through if they want to have a realistic shot at winning this game.
And speaking of adversity, they are pretty young at the line right now. They have 2 guys out for the year, and Brandon Wilkinson and Trent Llewellyn. We know they're inexperienced, but they have to find a way to protect A.J. Marks and Chase Harris back there.
Yeah, and they got to move the football. Yeah. I mean, that's something we haven't seen from this offense in a little while. And in the team's meetings and practices this week, You know, they're just talking about keeping the time of possession in their favor. You know, the longer their offense can be on the field and the less time that the defense has to face guys like Mount and Edwards and Andrews all night long, the better their chance is of coming away with a victory in Nelsonville.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I mentioned AJ and Chase on offense earlier. Another big guy that's been stepping up lately is freshman Kaleb Easley. He's been moved around to several different positions this year, so I caught up with him earlier this week to see how he's adjusting to the varsity game. I keep hearing about this awesome shoe collection that you have. The guys always give you a hard time about it. How many shoes do you think you actually own?
Probably about 20, 15 range.
Where do you keep them all?
Usually because my dad doesn't let me keep the box. I'm like, I always love to keep the box. I have to keep them at my mom's. So I just like spread them, like disperse them out between my mom's and my dad's.
I was talking to Luke Chapman about this, one of your good friends, and he said that your shoe game was pretty weak and that Crocs are the way to go. What would you say to Luke's comment?
I think Luke just doesn't understand the shoe game. That's why he wears Crocs. There's camo Crocs with ducks on them.
You know, basketball and football are two of your passions, so if you had to choose one, which one do you think is your favorite to play?
It depends what season I'm in. Like right now, football is my favorite. And then once I get into basketball, I'll be missing football, but I'm on basketball, so it'll be my favorite sport.
Before you got to the varsity level, you actually had your dad coach you in quite a few sports. What was that experience like having him around there?
It was good because like I actually got to know the game because like every night when he was making the stuff, I was right along with him. So like I got that sports like education in. So like now me coming up, I can step up and I can know the game.
What was that transition like going from maybe junior high to now having a big part on this varsity offense, especially now?
Like it's interesting because like I started out like in like off season, I'm like, I'll be glad to start varsity, and now I am. And it was a big step up, that like how Luke said, that River Valley, that Crooksville, it was a big turn on. Like it was rough, but then after that, like it just felt the same. Like it felt like I was playing junior high, but it was faster, and I just got comfortable with it.
This past Friday night against River Valley, you got your first touchdown of the season late in the game. And before the season, we were talking to you, and you said that you wanted to dedicate your first touchdown to your friend Drew, who's in the hospital right now. So what was going through your mind when you hit the pylon and you got into the end zone on Friday night?
Like, of course, like my emotion was coming out because I scored, but then again, I knew my friend Drew was having a troubled time with his surgery. So like after that game, I knew I talked to Drew after that and told him what I did, and I posted an Instagram post and said like what I did for him and that. And it was just a special moment for me because I've been close friends with him for a while, and I actually got to do that for him.
With football this year, you've been switched around to so many different positions since some guys have gotten injured. Well, you know, where do you feel most comfortable at, or what's your favorite to play on both sides of the ball?
Like wide receiver's fun because like you get those big plays, but at running back you get more like options. Like you get to block and you usually round the ball more. So if I would have to say, I like running back better. And on defense, like safety, I like safety because I get to be the last guy. So like if everything goes bad, I'm the guy to like lean on, and like I can see more things. But linebacker is fun because you're just up there with everyone, and it's just smash mouth.
Looking back at this past summer, transitioning into high school, and now we're in mid-October form, what have you learned the most through this experience of this season?
That we're gonna have our ups and downs, and people's gonna get injured, and so you gotta know every spot. Even like if I even had to play line, like I won't, but if you needed to, like you could step in, like reading your scouties. Like coach emphasizes that a lot, to read your scoutie and know every spot, because you never know what's gonna happen. Like we didn't know James went down on a strange play, or anyone, so you just gotta be ready.
On a typical week, Coach Penrod and his assistants put their heads together on Sunday afternoon to come up with the next week's game plan. But change of plans for week 8. This time they gave full control to a select few players to create the scouting report.
You don't have to do it all in there, but you guys can take notes so when we get to our actual
When they're in,
we're
we're in that 4-4, if we're in Ripley's, I almost think we should do auto bubble to try and pull them to the outside on that.
After a big game on Friday night, a coach's first priority is gearing up for the next week's opponent. Win or loss, it is their job to make the game as simple as possible for their players.
Everyone says football is 90%, mental. So, and that's true. If you know what they're going to do, if you know how they're going to play, and you know put a game plan together of how you want to attack it, and you can practice it each week, and your kids are bought into it, to what you're doing, it makes it so much easier.
Although the 2016 season hasn't exactly gone according to plan for the Spartans, the coaching staff saw this as a unique opportunity. For the first time, they put a few of the team's leaders in charge of compiling the scouting report. This process forced them to collaborate, evaluating their strengths and weaknesses.
You get ideas from not just a lineman or a quarterback, you get a widespread, because there was multiple positions there. We had Luke Chapman for the line, we had Michael Kelly for the receivers, AJSQ, me, Chase, and Kaleb as running backs and linebackers and stuff. So we had all of it covered. So it kind of gave everybody this good input on what to do.
90% of it was them. We just guided them into the right spots that we thought were beneficial after talking to them. They took a couple wrong paths here and there, but once we talked about it, they came to the conclusion like, hey, this is the better way to go.
When their corners are out there, they do have good coverage, but if we can bring their corners in some, there's wide open holes.
What kind of coverage are they in?
Players are used to the weekly grind. Watch film on Monday, study the game plan, and translate it to the practice field. However, this was different. This was a challenge.
It's easy when you're a player just to watch, but to watch film and break it down to see what they're actually trying to do is two different things.
You know, when you think of a scout, you just kind of think of like, what do they run, what coverage are they in? But now, like, once we actually get into it and what the coaches do, you realize like all the little things they do.
Once we actually got in there and see what it was like, it was totally different. We had to go through the film and study it more in depth than what we ever probably have. We had to not just look at, okay, well, what coverage they're in, what do they do for this type of plays. We had to look like, okay, what does this tackle normally do? What does this linebacker do? If we down block him, how is he going to react? We had to come up with every possibility right then and there watching that film.
You know, if we get 4 or 5 yards on a hitch, hey, we're happy, right? Like Coach Penrod said, execution of our game plan. We want to stay on the field to help our defense out.
In simple terms, these few athletes got the chance to act as the head coach. They provided a serious, very focused tone. But that's not to say that they didn't have any fun.
Oh, the best part was definitely Coach Coop's phone going off, like couldn't answer it or text back anyone, so that was pretty funny. And the worst part was probably AJ's Excel skills, because they were awful.
The Spartans feel more prepared than ever, and just as these players have trusted their coaches all season long, this experience shows that the staff shares an equal commitment to their young men.
To know that the coaches actually have that much faith in us, it kind of gives us this confidence, and hopefully we can build upon this and spread it throughout the team.
It makes you feel good about what you're doing and what the work that you put in, because they're obviously not doing it for no reason, so it feels pretty good.
You start a plan, you put it together, you work towards it, and then you try to execute it. And that's what the preparation beforehand, the mental preparation, allows us to do.
One finger and a fist, I'll claw my way out of any situation. I got a 1-2 punch, I'll fight my way out of any confrontation. I got news for you. You're not the first one, or you're the last. We'll take abuse. I see you run, son. You're running fast. What you wanna do? You call me crazy. I pay my dues. You know the truth. You go against me. You gotta lose. Play your hand without a deck. You make your bed of nails. One finger and a fist. I'll claw my way out of any situation. I got a 1-2 punch. I'll fight my way out of any confrontation. One finger and a fist. I'll claw my way out of any situation. I got a 1-2 punch. I'll fight my way out of any confrontation.
This concludes episode 8 of Grind to Shine. And before episode 9 airs next week, we want to hear from you on social media. Leave a comment or mention us on Twitter and Facebook. Our handle is @Spartan Endzone. We always love hearing your questions about the team.
Yeah, and don't forget to post on Saturdays on our Facebook page your question for Coach Penrod for our Penrod's Play segment. Next week, episode 9 will be the last time I'll be talking to Coach Penrod, so I really want to hear your input for this episode. So until next time, for Patrick Klinger, I'm Nathan Wiseman. Thanks for watching.